Hey fam, welcome back to the Gilead Gazette, your weekly roundup of the war on women's bodies, rights, and autonomy. And this week I need to start with something that sounds like satire, but is an actual bill introduced by an actual member of Congress with an actual straight face. House Republicans have introduced a federal bill that would make it illegal for women to flush their miscarriage or abortion remains. Instead, you would be required to use something called a catch kit, which is exactly what it sounds like. You catch your pregnancy tissue and blood in a bag and bring it back to your doctor as medical waste. The bill is called the Clean Water for All Life Act because apparently flushing a miscarriage is now an environmental hazard. The sponsor is Representative Mary Miller of Illinois, who insists this is about protecting human dignity and America's water systems. Human dignity. She wants women bleeding through a miscarriage at home to bag their own tissue and transport it to a medical facility, and she's calling that dignity. This isn't healthcare policy. This is punishment dressed up as plumbing. And the logic behind it is even wilder. Anti-abortion activists have been pushing the idea that abortion medication and pregnancy remains are polluting the water supply. One woman literally testified that, quote, "We're all drinking other people's abortions." That's the scientific basis for this legislation. That's the peer review. We're all drinking abortions. They hate that abortion pills let women bypass their bans in the privacy of their own homes. So now they want to make sure that even if you end a pregnancy alone, the state still gets to inspect the evidence. And before you say, "This will never pass," remember they said that about charging abortion patients with murder. And that legislation is now in over a dozen states. Speaking of things that affect every woman in every state, on March 31st, 2 million Americans are about to lose access to birth control, STD screening, Pap smears, and HIV testing. If you get your IUD through a Title X clinic, that appointment is gone. If you get free condoms, gone. If you're a college student getting a Pap smear at a community health center, gone. Not because Congress cut the funding, Congress appropriated the money. It's sitting there. The Trump administration's Department of Health and Human Services simply will not do the paperwork to release it. The Title X program has existed for almost 60 years. It's never been controversial. The funds don't cover abortion. This is birth control. This is cancer screenings. This is basic health care for low-income women. And HHS, under Robert F. Kennedy Jr., announced last year that clinics would need new guidance to reapply. They never issued the guidance. The deadline passed. Months went by. And then last Friday, they finally uploaded the application and gave clinics until this Friday to complete it. That's less than a week for paperwork that normally takes 3 to 4 months. And they have 10 staffers to review all the applications. 10. This isn't incompetence. This is sabotage. And it's worth noting that Project 2025 specifically proposed turning Title X from a birth control program into one that encourages women to, quote, "give birth early and often." They're not defunding it by accident. They're dismantling it on purpose. In Florida, judges are forcing women to have C-sections against their will. Over Zoom. ProPublica reported that at least 2 women, both black, both of whom had made informed decisions to attempt vaginal births, were overruled by judges on video calls and ordered into major abdominal surgery. One of these women is a doula. She knows more about childbirth than most people in that courtroom. Didn't matter. A bioethics expert at the University of Virginia told ProPublica, quote, "There aren't any other instances where you would invade the body of one person in order to save the life of another." There's a screenshot in that article of a screen full of white faces overruling a black woman lying in a hospital bed. Look at it. That is what fetal personhood looks like when it meets a real person. In Ohio, Republicans have introduced a bill to create a state-run pregnancy registry. Doctors would be required to file a, quote, "certificate of life" with the state within 10 days of detecting a fetal heartbeat. Every pregnancy tracked from beginning to end. If a pregnancy ends, providers have to specify whether it was a miscarriage, abortion, or stillbirth, with a cause of death certified within 48 hours. And if the state decides the death was, quote, "violent, suspicious, unusual, or sudden," a coroner gets involved. Sudden. Every miscarriage is sudden. This is pregnancy surveillance in a state where voters enshrined abortion protections in 2023. They don't care what you voted for. And the Trump administration just launched investigations into 13 pro-choice states for requiring health insurance plans to cover abortion. The woman running the investigation, Paula Stannard, is a Project 2025 contributor. They told you they'd leave abortion to the states. They lied! Rapid fire. Missouri Republicans are putting an abortion ban on the ballot disguised as a pro-choice measure. They named it Amendment 3, the same name as the 2024 amendment that protected abortion rights, and bundled it with an anti-trans provision because polling shows that's how they get it to pass. In Wyoming, patients are being turned away from the state's only abortion clinic, even though the state Supreme Court ruled abortion is constitutionally protected because the governor signed a ban anyway. ICE data shows 16 women have miscarried in immigration detention this year. 363 pregnant women have been deported. Pregnant unaccompanied minors are being sent to a single facility in South Texas where abortion is banned to force them to give birth. Many of them were raped. And the CARE Act, legislation that would make crisis pregnancy centers untouchable and lay the groundwork to ban birth control, has now passed in 2 states and is advancing in 4 more. Stay angry. Stay loud. Under her eye.